Welcome to Ham Nation, episode 540 for the February 15th, 2023. And welcome to Ham Nation, everybody. I'm Josh, KI6NAZ. Thanks so much for clicking on us here at the Ham Radio Crash Course. I know that this is the 15th, but I hope everybody had a lovely 14th of February for Valentine's Day. Let's go say hi to our hosts. Let's see who's in the show tonight. Hello, everyone.
Hey there.
We'll start with the guy waving there in the upper left. Joe Eisenberg, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Josh, and it was great to see you this past weekend in Orlando. And I'll have a couple of pictures of the Ham Fest and a couple pictures of what happened when Hurricane Ian hit Fort Myers Beach.
Oh, yeah, the before and after, right? Gordo, how are you doing?
I am fine, and congratulations. Look at this, everyone. Josh makes the QST magazine big time,
Nice.
and we appreciate Josh because that really helps sell ham radio. Thank you, Josh.
And a big thank you to Steve, K5ATA, for writing that article. He did a fantastic job. Thank you, Steve. Dawn, how are you doing?
Normally we see you on episodes of Cops, so it's nice to see you in QST for a change.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Loved your cameo on America's Most Wanted, by the way.
They're
doing
still
great.
looking for me, actually. They're still looking for me.
Some are glad you're gone. But I digress. I've had a little bit of sugar tonight with the left, how steady's my hand? I've had a little bit of Valentine's candy, but I'm good. So we're getting ready for Mardi Gras. Next Tuesday is Mardi Gras, so we're geared up for everything. And there's an especially cool Dr. T solar update tonight. At one point, I won't give you the exact number of active regions there were on the Earth-facing disk, but it was this many.
Wow.
So her report is coming up along with Newsline. So yeah, very active solar business going on, Josh.
Well, I'm excited to hear more about that. And Amanda, how are you doing? How was your whole weekend last weekend?
Oh, fantastic. Well, we just got over the Super Bowl, so there's no more football for the rest of the year until, August.
Yay, Chiefs.
Yay, Chiefs.
Yeah, Chiefs did well.
Okay.
Enjoy Sean Payton in Denver. I hope he brings you as much success as he did
I hope
us.
so too, honey. I really do. And let's see what else. I've been having some fun on HF, and Josh, if cops were smart, they'd know how to DF you and they would find you.
I don't think it's that hard with the antenna on the roof, but I don't know. Maybe
what
that's
else?
me.
Oh, wait. I think that you and Joe ran into another host from Ham Nation this weekend. You ran into Val, right?
We did. Valerie
Yes, we
was
did.
having a good time there in the little kind of picnic area under the covered area by the food. She was very happy because she made a contact, I think at least one contact with the Bouvet Island expedition. So she was on Cloud 9, on Cloud 9.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Bouvet at the end of the show a little bit, and I'm going to promote Josh's video.
Oh.
So anyhow, we're gonna go over to Gordo and let him tell us what he's been up to for the last few weeks, because he's been a busy man and he's been having a ton of fun. So Gordo, and I'll be watching chat room, by the way. I'll take your questions.
No, I can only do one thing at a time, barely. But I'll take
One
any
more than
questions
me.
you hand me afterwards.
Okay, honey, you take it away.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, we'll start off in just a moment with Quartzfest, but the big thing with Orlando, Hamcation, as well as Quartzfest, plus all the other Hamfests throughout the year, it's the people that make it happen. Not just the organizers, but the people that are there that say, yeah, I can step in and help. So let's take a look and see what the people are doing at Quartzfest. Well, that's Chris. If you go back one, that's Chris on the right-hand side. Chris has volunteered to roll this for about 5 or 6 or 7 times. That's once a year. And that's AC. And if you've ever been to Quartzfest, AC he's a trip. And notice he's got his bedpan band. I don't know if it's a banjo or a mandolin, but anyway, AC always keeps things going. And this is the Arizona DX group, and you'll be hearing more about the Northern group in just a moment, but they were all decked out. And, that's nice when you have a group that knows to wear their stuff. Well, there it is, the Arizona station, and they take great pride in having a loud signal at Quartzfest, specifically for those that have never been on the air and want to give it a try. And literally, they are talking to the world. So that's their special event station. And Team Arizona, we so much appreciate all the hard work that you put into it, because they're inside the trailer, not making contacts themselves, but these men and women are showing others how to make a contact, how to bust a pile up, how to make things happen on the air on ham radio. So let me just look at Northern. Well, I don't have all my notes in front of me, but the Northern Arizona team, all I can say is you did a fabulous job of really giving Quartzfest a voice. And of course, FT8 was all over the place. And because everybody's within several hundred yards of each other, we had to all sort of take turns. That's Maryland W7MCJ. And she did gold panning. And, when they got through gold panning, take a look. There was real gold in there that some of the hams were able to take part in. They didn't get to take it home. Maryland also ran the very, very exciting metal detectors. And we've got other shots in a couple of weeks that will show you of what they found that had been pre-planted out there in the sand. That's Tracy, and Tracy and his team were showing off all sorts of different ways of generating CW, and we so much appreciate Tracy because he is the one that was able to set the schedule for all of us to be able to do our thing. So thanks, Tracy, WM6T, for all your hard work at Quartzfest. And that's Rick Paquette with ARRL. Local, and he also does some great cast iron cooking, and we had plenty of food to eat. We had testing at Quartzfest. At one time, the wind was over 30 to 40 miles per hour. Not a single paper blew away because WM7X, this is Stephen, what a guy. He runs the electronic testing for the W5YI group, and does he look happy that the wind's blowing and there's no papers going out of the way? Stephen, thank you for bringing all your stuff. And what happened was, beside those on Zoom, his test takers would borrow one of these little tablets, not little, quite nice, and the whole exam was right there. So we had, there you go, good shot there. So we had a great time doing testing. Now, for those of you that'd like to learn more about electronic testing, Greater LA group was there, ARRL group, a lot of different groups were there. Go to WM7X.net. And from there, you'll be able to see everything there is about remote testing, taking your exam at home. But again, we're talking about people, fellow hams that turned all the way up, many driving hours and hours, Steve driving days from Washington to get all the way down here. These are the volunteer key examiners that would oversee the entire testing process. So they really make things happen, and that's a neat thing. That's Russell. Russell is our hootenanny man. He's been doing that for, 10 plus years, and the wind was just howling, but all of the guitarists and bongo drums and everybody were there to take advantage of the great hootenanny that we had on Thursday evening. We also had a ISS station pass. I had everybody all tuned in to go crossband repeat. Unfortunately, fortunately, they were working a school, and we didn't realize that they would overlap, so the school got preference. We were able to hear some stuff from the International Space Station, but couldn't quite make a contact. Oh, they were loud because they were working an alternate operation. tent campers were welcome. And it's a good thing because many mornings it was 38 and 39 degrees. I know you on the East Coast. I know that's warm. But the tent campers had a great time. That's our unit in the background there, the white van. And that's a road trek. We've had it since 96. And it keeps us warm and had the solar panels out, and we're quiet at home. And then we saw the mountains in the background, and they got fainter and fainter and fainter. And we go, what the heck's going on? It was a blow storm you could not believe. 30, 40, sometimes 45 miles per hour. Any tumbleweed not affixed to the ground indeed was going. Now, that's Gary with Amateur Television Network. Gary televised all of the different talks. So if the wind was blowing, you could stay right in your coach, go to channel 57, I believe, on cable TV. But the cable, no cable, tied into an outside antenna. And that came out on 426 point whatever for the amateur television. And Gary, thank you for not only the ATV link up, but also all the PA systems and the big screens. Now, he was able to get that ATV signal all over 4 or 5 miles away. Look at those loop Yagis up there. So he had a good system. And he also had the biggest and brightest screen until the wind, and it was well guided. It was the bottom that gave out, but the screen survived. But that evening show for that night was postponed. And, of course, at Quartzfest, we always take everybody on an off-road trip. Frank says they had over like 45 vehicles, and they went out bright and early in the morning and came back unscathed. There was always coffee every morning thanks to the Win system and all of their great hams that kept the coffee brewing. That's Steve. And Steve was very happy because he says, when I'm not making coffee, I am going to take a spin. And he had the unit to do it in. So now they, on the very, very final day, they had the near space balloon launch, and it went off. There was one launch hitch up, but that they got it squared away, got a new balloon, got it all tied in, and up it went. I just hope that's not the one that was going around the world that got shot down. In fact, when you see these balloon launchers, they've got some real pressure now because the whole world is looking at what's up there in the sky. So I envision that amateur radio balloon launches are going to get really scrutinized by authorities. And I know this group did a fabulous job of working with the FAA and notice to airmen and doing everything properly. But I just worry that once it's up there, where are balloons going to go? Well, these are some of the short shots that Maryland took. And look at that picture in the center. Let me tell you, the internet was loud and clear thanks to Starlink, and we're learning more and more about that. But boy, those that had Wi-Fi, all of us were tuned into it because there was not a chance at Quartzfest to be able to get a signal in there. And of course, they made it all the way to Facebook and YouTube, and we saw great sunsets every single night. Well, here's a tent camper that's really not roughing it. Look at that. They even have their own little stove, a potbelly stove on the inside. But this is just what makes ham radio fun, and that is you never know what fellow hams are going to be doing next. There was that balloon launch on Saturday morning, and again, I've not yet heard, but this balloon was destined to 90,000 feet. And I know it had some company up there. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully it was not a ham balloon, not just this one, but all the hams across the country that regularly go aloft with their devices. And some are on APRS, and we just hope that what's happening now is not going to impact balloon launches in the future. And as you can see, Quartzfest is in the middle of nowhere. We were at least 20 miles away from town, so we didn't have much internet because all the others in town gobbled it up. But the Starlink was working just great, and thanks to Stephen. And again, to get a hold of Stephen and learn more about remote testing, you can go to WM7X. quartzfest.net, and you'll read all about it. And loads of our friendly cactus with all sorts of birds in their nest up there. But they had such a dry season that in a moment you'll see that not all the cactuses survived. And this was the antenna walkabout. And what we'd do on the antenna walkabout would be folks would walk around and see all the different antennas. And let me tell you, an antenna farm just a half mile away was Neil, W6FOG, who's done a ton of public service working with a school district out there in the desert. And Neil is just one of those that goes out of his way to make Quartzfest happen. So if you're available next year, we sure hope to see you at Quartzfest. Again, sorry we couldn't do Orlando in person, but it was fun on our very first Gordo Ambassador Award given out at the Orlando Hamcation, which I understand was a great success. So, Amanda, any questions before we take a trip to ICOM? Amanda?
Yeah, actually, Gordo, you brought up the balloon conversation, so I'm just going to bring that up to our hosts. And I've been talking to Jeff about this. I said, I don't know what this is going to do to the amateur radio community with all of our high altitude balloon launches that we do all the time. And we do them for experimental purposes. And it makes me worried that they're all going to get called in all the time. What do you think, Gordo? Are we safe?
Yes, I am, as you are, very concerned about the ham radio balloon operation that takes place all over the country, because we can watch them on APRS. And when we see that their altitude is 52,000, we know it's got to be a balloon. And there's a lot of them up there. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens next. But sure hope they don't get shot out of the sky.
I know. You most certainly are right. And, I know that I have gone to a lot of balloon launches for amateur radio, and they all have burst on them, right? So we can burst them and bring them back down. And we know where they're going to land, and we kind of have where they're going to go. And as Gordo said, we are intelligent and responsible. So we call into the FAA and let them know. But what if the rest of the government isn't talking to the FAA? Josh, what are your thoughts?
It's interesting because there's actually I forget his name right now, but the winner of the Carol Perry Educator Award, he is someone who does, I think, monthly balloon launches at a high school that's just down south of me in San Diego. And we had a little chat about it. They're still going to try to do them because, I mean, if anything, there's a chance to spin this to the positive to get people to understand amateur radio a little bit better, if you think about it.
Right.
So really, it's the eyes are on the balloons. We're often launching balloons, and we should really turn into that and say, hey, not only is it a balloon we put up there, but it's got this really cool radio in it, and we can chart it using our radios that we have in our shack and whatnot. And we're posting it to the internet. You can follow along with our little UAP or whatever as it's flying around. It's kind of been the way I'm thinking about maybe working an angle on that.
Okay, and Joe, you have ADSB unit at your home, so you probably see the HBALs all the time showing up on your monitor. What do you think?
It depends on if the balloon has an ADSB transmitter or not. And very few do, because that adds a lot of weight to the balloon.
Yeah.
But I am able to monitor aircraft in the area and can tell if something unusual is going on. But what I upload to ADSBexchange.com is shared, and there are other monitor feeder locations in my area, and the website correlates what I'm receiving and they're receiving to triangulate on different aircraft and so forth. But I have not seen a balloon transmit the ADSB.
Okay. And Don, what do you think? Do you think this is going to hurt our educational purposes for our EduSpace balloons?
I think that if we can exploit this and let the public know that, what we're putting up there, like everyone said, it's research purposes, it's radio tracking purposes, and just let them know a little bit of the details about some of the capabilities of these balloons. I mean, some of them go up and then they come down, tens or a couple of 100 miles away, but Some of those balloons that Tom Medlin puts up, those things go around and around and around like 4 and 5 times.
Yeah.
And I think that's just incredible. And you know, anybody can track those. You don't have to be a ham to track them. You can track them online. And I think it's just, if we spin this to the general public just right, I think it would be a great education opportunity.
And what people don't realize is Tom's balloons transmit about 10 milliwatts.
Right.
And when you think about that, that's less power than the Bluetooth part of your cell phone.
Right. Exactly.
And we're able to hear that 20-meter signal that's that weak. We can hear that thousands of miles away. I know I've picked up some that are over Africa, over Europe, over the Atlantic, if I turn my beam that way and watch the whisper. So you're talking about dealing with signal strengths that don't need giant solar panels that weigh 2 tons.
No,
we're talking about postage stamp type transmitters that are able to transmit 10 milliwatts, and we can hear it.
Flea power. Yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, less power than the Bluetooth in your phone.
Right.
And sorry, I'm trying to catch up on chat room here.
We did I got one question I was going to ask.
Go ahead.
Multiple people asked in the chat. Gordo, what was the wind effect to the antennas like? I know you said that there was a screen that fell down, but was there? You might have mentioned it. I might have missed it. Anything go down, or was there an antenna that survived better than the rest?
Several tents were a county away. We watched one tent literally lift up, and it went beyond line of sight to the next tent. Luckily, there was no one inside, but they said, where'd our tent go in the high wind? Unfortunately, the screen was the only casualty, and it was a very special screen that Gary had obtained, and it was not damaged. Just the local feed is what gave out because it was well guided. So that's the only thing that beside the tent that went flying. Everybody else pretty well hunkered down. And the Northern DX Association, I sure hope I'm getting their name right because they did such a job there at Quartzfest. They really did a great job of anchoring their 3-element beam to the trailer.
Fantastic. I once again, going back to the balloons, I'm very good friends with Edge of Space Science here, and they're a ham radio group, and they do experimental balloon launches for a lot of the colleges here in Colorado. And just so everyone knows, it's amazing work, and they kind of just, what they do, they get reimbursed for the work and the money they put into it. They get reimbursed for their expenses and going out and tracking it and retrieving the payloads and things like that. I just, I would hate to see that go away, or for all the general public to waste our government's time by calling this stuff in. So I think it's important that, hey, guess what? Everybody has PIOs in their area. And if you know of high altitude balloon launches, maybe contact your news agencies and let them know what you're doing and teach them about it.
Absolutely. That, you know, the ham radio balloons was one of the first things that I thought of when some of the descriptions of the objects came in. One was like, well, it was a balloon and it had something tethered underneath it. I'm like, well, that sounds like a ham radio balloon to me. You know, or any number of weather balloons or any other type of research balloons. Yeah. But I mean, and now of course the big one that was, 200 feet across and carrying something the size of a city bus, that was not.
That also came from China.
At least, questionable at the least,
So, as we all know, we're not going to freak out about it because we know that there's balloons for a lot of purposes, especially for weather and just educational purposes and experimental purposes. So we're not going to freak out, but we do need to let the public know. So you guys in the chat room, make sure you do your job.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you're seeing posts on your local Facebook group saying, I saw something in the air today, I don't know what it is, what should we do? Make sure you just let them know that there is a possibility that it's most likely something that's supposed to be there.
And I saw a news story today about how much it cost to shoot down one of those balloons.
Oh yeah.
Between the cost of the actual missile, and in one case they shot 2 at it because they missed once. but it was about $1 million a pop between the aircraft.
We paid for that.
The cost per hour for, the whole cost to operate the aircraft and to, the use of the missile was about $1 million.
Well, then there's retrieval costs, right? Because they want to go figure out what it is.
Sure. Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was just the air operations to pop one of those with an AIM-9 Sidewinder was $1 million freaking.
See, that's why. What did they used to say? That's why aircraft need to have a gun. Bullets a lot cheaper.
Yeah, where was the Warthog?
The A-10 can't fly that high.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Oh, that's correct. You're right.
No, it can't.
Right.
That would be awesome.
That's ridiculous.
That's a great airplane.
I didn't even think about that. Now I feel dumb. Anything else?
They'll catch it 20 seconds after release.
Yeah.
Anything else?
It'll come whipping over and then it'll be over with.
We got a lot of comments on the wind. Well, I guess, Gordo, was there anything you were particularly impressed by at Quartzfest, radio related, that you didn't mention yet?
Yeah.
Well, I was impressed that the hams all grouped together sort of took turns on FT8 as well as the Arizona DX, Northern Arizona DX group distance challenge, and they all took turns. So that was probably the best part of ham radio for me. Was certainly the gear was good, and Amy and Jerry came out with a little handheld device, which we'll show you in 2 weeks. This was a game device. They had about 10 or 15 among those at Quartzfest, and they would actually play a game over the radio to find different things, had GPS, but Jerry and Amy, they're always coming up with great things, and we'll show you pictures of it in 2 weeks, along with the winter field day activities from both Chip Margelli out there, as well as where we were at Quartzfest.
Oh gosh, I'll have to see if they'll join us, Gordo. I'll reach out.
Oh yeah, yep.
Okay. Well, Gordo, thank you so much for sharing all your Quartzfest stuff, and I think you made a lot of people jealous and said that they want to be there next year. So
it's bucket list for me. It's a bucket list thing for me, that's for sure.
Okay,
yeah, absolutely
free, no charge. Yeah, and they have toilets, so got that going for us too. Okay, you know what? We're going to send it to ICOM.
Happy New Year from ICOM. Didn't get everything on your wish list? Spice up your ham shack with one of ICOM's popular handhelds, mobiles, or base stations. These radios are perfect for working your favorite bands while staying inside or venturing out this winter. The IC705 is the perfect sidekick and QRP companion. Base station features and functionalities at the tips of your fingers in a portable package covering HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. This compact rig weighs in just under 2 pounds with RF direct sampling for most of the HF band and IF sampling for frequencies above 25 megahertz. 4.3-inch color touchscreen with live band scope and waterfall. 5 watts with the included BP272 battery, or 10 watts with 13.8 volt external DC. Single sideband CW, AM, FM, as well as full D-Star functions. The perfect accessory for the IC705 is the optional backpack LC192. The ID52A is a VHF-UHF dual band with D-Star and FM dual mode functions and is the first handheld radio with a full-color 2.3-inch waterfall display. This radio supports conventional FM communications and D-Star simplex, repeater, regional, and worldwide calls over the D-Star Internet Gateway. Create your own band opening with the IC9700. This radio brings direct sampling to the UHF-VHF weak signal world. The IC7300 is a high-performance HF transceiver with a compact design that will far exceed your expectations. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and SD memory card slot. The real ham fun starts here. Happy holidays from ICOM America, and visit icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
And a big thank you to ICOM for sponsoring Ham Nation. We really do appreciate you. Every time that they go live, they pick 3 winners for a swag pack giveaway, which includes, like, hats, T-shirts. It's random, so don't quote me on what you're going to get. But to enter, you just go there on the website, ICOM in America. There's a link in the description. Click on that, enter information like your call sign, your email, and you can join the fun on getting in on that giveaway. They pick 3 winners, and we've got 3 of them right now. So let me get the names here. Donnie P, W5VCO, Lee M, KI5YPR, and Richard B, N5PFL. They're the Swag Pies winners, so they go into the list that builds as the year goes on. And at the end of the month, they're going to pick 1 name out of there to pick a radio. And this month's winner is going to get the ICV86. And a reminder from last month. Did I say year? Last month. The winner got an ICV 3500. That winner was Alex FKD0YTE. So big thank you to ICOM for sponsoring the show. Thanks for everything. Good talking to you, Ray, at Hamcation. So I'm throwing over to Don. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, that's pretty cool. All the winners this week are in the 5 call district, as am I. That's very cool. I like that. I don't know that we've ever had everybody from 1 call district before. Probably have, but I don't remember. Anyway, that's not why you called in. Let's go ahead and get into the news of the week from Amateur Radio Newsline and a big solar update from Dr. T. From Amateur Radio Newsline report number 2363. This is Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, February 15, 2023. A 7.8 magnitude earthquake shook southern Turkey, northern Syria, and neighboring regions on Monday, February 6th. As the death and casualty counts continued to rise amid aftershocks, hams deepened their involvement in emergency response.
With the death toll well into the thousands and many more injured in the massive 7.8 magnitude earthquake that shook the region along the borders of Syria and Turkey, Aziz Sasa TA1E, president of IARU member society TRAC, arrived at the disaster area shortly after the 6th of February. He assisted with frequency coordination for the teams carrying out search operations. Radio has played a pivotal role here on many levels. Other nations have also responded. Search and rescue teams from Georgia and Bosnia-Herzegovina arrived with hams among the group. The Turkish Emergency Communications Group was on VHF and UHF frequencies, but also making use of 3.777 and 7.092 MHz as needed. Newsline will continue to follow this developing story. This is Jeremy Boot, G4NJH.
Finally, 3Y0J, the long-awaited Bouvet Island de-expedition, is on the air. Here's the latest from Newsline anchor Stephen Kinford at N8WB.
Troublesome weather conditions plagued the Bouvet Island de-expedition 3Y0J during its first days on the air, but the camp came through the high winds of February 8th without issues after it was secured. One member wrote on dxworld.net that it was, quote, the most extreme expedition I've been to, end quote. There were also reports of the call sign being pirated, so those who believe they had worked the island will only know for sure from the team's uploaded logs on the weekend of February 10th. While doing the uploads on the boat, they will restock their essential food to enable them to continue the de-expedition for another week. The team has added 2 streams of FT8 in Foxhound mode. Chasers were advised to not work the team on FT8 if they already logged a contact on CW or SSB. The West Coast pilot station, Rich KE1B, said that the team has scaled back its expectations in response to its current challenges. Operators had intended to log 200,000 QSOs from the island, but according to Rich, quote, the team will be lucky to get 20,000 QSOs instead.
In western Pennsylvania, some emergency responders are in for a big surprise, and that's the whole idea behind their next exercise.
As amateur radio operators, we are supposed to plan for emergencies, but we can never plan on emergencies. That's why such events as the ARRL Simulated Emergency Tests, or SETs, are good. but participants still know ahead of time when and where an activity will take place. So the Southwest District Skywarn team of Western Pennsylvania is building the element of surprise into their upcoming training exercise. Sometime before the next SET on April 1st, they will have an unexpected weather exercise initiated by the Pittsburgh National Weather Service office. When Skywarn is activated, they will then be told how serious the weather event is, whether there is internet or cell service, and the status of power. From then on, spotters will be deployed and begin their work, just as in an actual emergency. This is Randy Sly, W4XJ.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Jeremy Boot, G4NJH, Stephen Kinford, N8WB, Randy Sly, W4XJ, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe, I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now, here's the solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW.
Space weather this week continues to be active. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, we have no less than 10 active regions in Earth view. Now, the big X-flare player, that was region 3213, has finally rotated off of the sun's west limb, but we still have a ton of activity. In fact, back on the 12th, regions 3216 and 17 fired off some solar storms that went mainly east of Earth, but they did manage to graze us right on Valentine's Day, and they brought some gorgeous aurora. We're still kind of dealing with it now and seeing some gorgeous shows, especially at high latitudes and even down into mid-latitudes a little bit. But aurora photographers, if you didn't catch the show on Valentine's Day, don't worry, we have yet another solar storm, because right around the 15th, region 3220 launched a solar storm that's Earth-directed, and along with another filament eruption, these both storms are headed kind of back-to-back towards Earth. NASA models and NOAA models show that we could have impact as early as midday on the 17th or possibly into the 18th. So this should be an extended show. It could definitely bring aurora down to mid-latitudes. So aurora photographers, keep your batteries charged and get ready. Now, as we take a look at the sun's far side, this is stereo A, and it's looking at the sun just a little bit from the side. You can see region 3213 rotating off of the sun's west limb in stereo's view, but really, I want you to focus your eyes on the east limb, because there's still some active regions, especially in the north, that are solar storm producers and likely big flare players that have yet to rotate into Earth view. So amateur radio operators and emergency responders, you know what? We're going to keep that solar flux ramped up, and we're going to keep radio blackouts on the menu, because it looks like we've got more activity that's going to rotate into Earth view over the next few days. For more details on this week's space weather, including how that Earth-directed solar storm could affect you, come check out my channel or see me at spaceweatherwoman.com.
All right. Thanks, Dr. T. We appreciate all your efforts in bringing that to us. Of course, we're thrilled to have you part of the Newsline and Ham Nation family, and you being a ham, that just makes it even more special. Follow her on Twitter. It's at Tamitha Skov. She also has a YouTube channel, Tamitha Skov. You can see all of her reports, and spaceweatherwoman.com is a great resource as well. But Twitter, for sure, you need to follow her very, very closely. She does great work. All right, let's go see what's going on with Joe Eisenberg. He's probably got some kit thing he's doing.
Sure am. I tell you what, I will have some pictures in an upcoming episode. Those are on my phone of the kit build that we did at, Hamcation.
Orlando. Yeah.
Yeah. My throat's a little rough. I just got off the plane a little while ago. I tell you what, it was wonderful, and everybody walked home with a working code practice oscillator, and it's the super simple CPO from the 4-state QRP group. And I'll have some close-up pictures of the build in an upcoming episode. But we're going to take a look at a couple of the pictures that I took at Hamcation, and I think I don't have it shared correctly, so we'll take a look here. There we go. Now you're going to get to see, this is a rover for VHF and UHF that was at the Hamcation. I know, Josh, you got a closer look at it inside.
Yes. Oh, beautiful. No, it's one of the cleanest rovers I've ever seen. It's incredible how much wire they shoved into that. It's a Volkswagen 4-door hatchback.
Yeah, it's just really, really well done, and great cabling job. It's got the rotator on the roof and ready to rock and roll. Just an incredible setup in there. When I was walking around some parts of the flea market and so forth, I found one of these. Globe Chief was made by the World Radio Labs in Council Bluffs. And of course, that was the company founded by my Elmer, W0GFQ. And so when I see one that looks that nice, I try to take a picture of those. This is something that everybody has wanted to see. This is a close-up of the ICOM 905. And this is the VHF, UHF, and microwave transceiver that is the brandest newest product from ICOM. And you can see this particular one is in the 10 gigahertz band. And it was active and running there. It looks very much like a 705, so it is the same basic form factor, but it's not quite as heavy as the 705 because there's no battery inside this. This is the two different RF modules for the different bands, and they are powered by PoE. Now, how many people know what PoE is?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
It's power over Ethernet.
Yeah. And so it has a power supply and it will power the remote devices. Now, the reason we do that is because there's a lot of loss in your feed lines at that frequency. And so these RF converters and transmitters are actually separate from the control head, and they can be mounted up on the mast outside. And so they only have a couple of feet of cable between them and the antennas. And we'll see if we can show you what the antennas look like. And there they are, 3 different bands. I think one was 1.2 gigs and 5 gigs and 10 gigs. And when you think about the ability to do summits on the air and go summit to summit with one of these things, this is going to be something new that's going to get a lot of people, a lot of new hams excited about working these bands. And don't forget, like on Winter Field Day or on the VHF contest, working on different bands can be a multiplier. Now there's Ray, and he's showing it off, and I would say he spent most of his time with people looking at the 905. So there are a lot of hams that are interested in these higher bands. And a lot of people say, well, no, you got to prearrange things. Well, not necessarily. There are clubs that are working on repeaters and stuff and links using this kind of system as well. And it's amazing how far you can go with single sideband on 10 gigahertz. If you look in the Swaps building, the flea market at Hamcation was both indoors and outdoors. The Swaps building had hundreds of tables inside, and outside throughout the fairgrounds, including around the camper area and so forth, were outdoor flea market exhibits. And so there were some really neat antique AM and shortwave broadcast receivers in there. This is also inside the Swaps building. There were also 2 commercial exhibit buildings, the North Hall and the East-West Hall. But this is a view inside the Swaps building, another view inside there. It's actually big. The Swaps building alone is much, much bigger than most of the buildings that we have for our local Hamfest. As you can see there, you have a frequency meter, and there's a headset so you can listen for the tones and so forth. And there's Mr. B in the commercial exhibit area selling cables and power poles and all sorts of things. So there was the usual set of inside exhibitors, but we were treated to the Begalis. We had Bruna and we had her husband Roberto who were there, and they had the whole line of Begali keys. And that photo is not in this batch either. We had the Boy Scouts who were there, and the Scouts did an all-day event on Saturday, and they took them around the convention, and they introduced them to many different kinds of things, and they did the special event station as well, so that they would all qualify for their radio merit badge in one day at Hamcation. Of course, Neil, WB9VPG, was there as well, representing the Youth on the Air organization and the youth camp, which will be held in Canada this year. So I took a drive after Hamcation to Cape Coral, where my brother lives, and this is on his block in Cape Coral. This area took a direct hit by the eye and the eye wall, and they were in it for a long time because it only moved at about 3 or 4 miles an hour. So several of the houses have roofs that are covered by tarp after tarp after tarp. It's pretty amazing. There are, I would say, at least half the roofs are tarped. The other half have just been recently repaired. But it will take at least a year and a half or more to get most of these things repaired. This is some of the damage looking from the bridge on the way to Fort Myers Beach, and you can see the mobile homes are just kind of washed together and smashed up. This was a souvenir shop. I know I have a T-shirt that I bought at that one a year ago, and they, of course, cleaned the building out after the hurricane damaged it, so all that's left is the concrete shell of this building. A lot of buildings along Fort Myers Beach are no longer there, but there's still piles of rubble yet to be picked up. Some structures survived kind of barely because they were up on stilts, but just the damage is incredible because in a normal hurricane, let's say a Cat 1 or Cat 2, they're usually moving along 10, 15 miles an hour, and the peak wind gusts aren't there for more than a couple of minutes. But in this case, you had Category 4 winds that were in an area for as many as 2 hours or more. So it's like for us in the Midwest, putting your head in a EF2 tornado for 2 hours. Wow. So the kind of destruction you can see is just incredible. This is looking down a block. You can see at least 3/4 of the houses are completely gone. These are all in the Fort Myers Beach area. This was an RV park. Of course, the RVs are all gone. This is another building. I think this was a restaurant.
It's amazing how the wave action just guts everything that's in there, just washes it right out.
Yeah, what happened here right along Fort Myers Beach is that the water came up at least 8 to 10 feet or more. The Lani Kai, I didn't get any pictures of that place. It's a concrete hotel. And the first 2 floors were completely destroyed.
Do you know what the storm surge was? The max storm surge in that storm was, off the top of your head?
No, I don't.
I don't either. I was just wondering, because Katrina, they said that the max storm surge was 27 feet.
Yeah, and I think this in some places was close to that. I think around this was 10 to 15.
Yeah.
But the actual wind before the water even came in was just, like I said, it's like sitting through an EF2 tornado for hours. That's another RV park. This is what you saw mostly. Not a lot of tourists there right now. You see a lot of contractors and these claw trucks doing nothing but picking up debris and hauling it away, 1 truckload at a time. And the miracle I got to see, at least from a distance, was the causeway between Cape Coral and Fort Myers and Sanibel, and how they actually did something like 20,000 truckloads of sand, dirt, and rock, and actually reopened the causeway, at least 2 lanes now, to Sanibel. And Sanibel is even in worse shape than the area here at Fort Myers Beach. You can see there are, on one side of the street, these buildings were all destroyed, but behind me is a bar that just opened. They reopened that week while I was there. There's some of the boats that are still just there, washed up and pushed up against each other. A lot of derelict boats are underwater, and so they have to go looking for them.
Got to wait on the insurance companies to write those things off, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is on the street. This is on McGregor Boulevard. And if you look in the weeds, guess what? There's a boat. See the boat kind of hidden in the weeds? And it was just like, whoa, there's a boat in there. So absolutely incredible destruction. The hams did do a lot of work providing communications, especially with the Red Cross shelters, and also helping people get messages through to their loved ones, because, of course, the cell system did not work for quite a while until they could bring portable cell sites back into the area. And that is my pictures from Hamcation and from Fort Myers Beach and Cape Coral. Like I said, there was lots of houses in Cape Coral, including like that one that's on my brother's block. Fortunately, his house primarily lost a couple of shingles on the roof, the screening around their pool, and several trees. And the fences were all messed up. And so the fences all the way around the backyard are just propped up with boards to keep the dogs in. But fortunately, the houses were livable after the hurricane. Power was out for 9 days. They had it back for 2 days. And then the transformer behind my brother's house took a direct hit of lightning and exploded. And they had to replace that the next day.
Oh, no.
Scary stuff.
It is. Gosh, those hurricanes, I'll tell you. Well, Joe, thank you so much for sharing all of that. And Josh.
Yeah. We want to
and
show off on some things?
We should use that as a reminder to always be prepared with extra batteries, gas for your generator, things like that you really, really want to have on hand in case of an emergency.
Right. And when you do use a generator, remember there's carbon dioxide or monoxide spewing out of that exhaust.
The generator has to stay way outside.
Way outside. And watch
not
the way
on the patio, not in the garage, not on the porch. It has to be way out.
Way outside. Exactly right.
That's not a safe option on the inside of your house, but you want to survive. But okay, gosh, I'm trying to go through the questions here. We had this big old conversation in the chat about POE, so I'm sorry.
Yes.
We did.
Was Edgar Allan brought up by any chance? He's my cousin, you know.
Not that POE.
Oh, sorry.
But, you know, when you think about it, that's the way a lot of point-to-point Wi-Fi remote systems are powered, is PoE. And I have some VoIP phones here on Ham Shack Hotline, and those are PoE powered as well.
Yeah. What phones do you use, Joe? You got Polycoms or you got Cisco's or what?
I have a Cisco, and then I have a Fortinet that I got from my employer, and I actually have a box of those things.
I am not familiar with those.
Yeah, and I found a way to make the Fortinet work.
Really? What, Josh? What do you use?
I was texting an admin right now about something that was going on the side. What was the question again? Sorry.
Sorry,
teacher. I was not paying attention to class today. I'll take the 0.
What?
Yeah.
What phones do you use for hams over IP? What, Polycom, Cisco, what?
I'm looking at a Cisco. I am not effectively on hams over IP yet. But the reason why I know what PoE is because of Arden.
Okay.
Yes.
ARDN.
Yes.
All right. So that's why you're familiar. I'm familiar with PoE for a lot of reasons, mostly because my husband is in security and security cameras all work on PoE. So we have PoE switches everywhere in this household. But I'm also familiar with handling our Ham Shack hotline was the first one, and now we have moved over to hams over IP. So,
why?
Anyhow,
everybody's asking versus one or the other. Why?
Can I get into that later?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The
Wow.
other thing about PoE, and somebody asked Ray while I was taking those pictures about that, and he honestly did not know what the specs of the PoE supply needs to be, because there's 24 volt and 48 volt PoE. And so, because I've had to work with it as well in my career. And so he will get that information out. But
very good.
Keep in mind that it definitely needs to be available.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The one thing I'm going to say, how do I say this? It's the difference of 2 different modes and 2 different operating scenarios and hosting, things like that is the difference between hams over IP and Ham Shack hotline. So
I assume we'll talk about it in the future, possibly another episode of Ham Nation.
I can't wait to talk about this.
It almost sounds like a wrestling match like they have between D-Star and Fusion and everything else. So.
Right.
Kind of a thing.
Pick your flavor. Yeah.
And DMR Mark and Brandmeister.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the old VHS Betamax all brought into the 23rd or 21st century. Yeah, 23rd century. We're not in Star Trek quite yet.
So anyhow, Joe, I'm so glad that your brother's house really upheld the hurricane. I just I think he's truly blessed that all he had to do is go out and put some tarps on his a roof, and he didn't have to live in a shelter for 2 months or anything like that.
And there are people in houses only a few blocks away that have campers parked in the driveway.
Yeah.
And that's
FEMA
what they're
trailers.
actually.
FEMA trailers.
No, these are regular RVs and stuff that they have.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And the FEMA trailers are going into special setups, either at their houses or in special camps that they're setting up.
Yeah.
I did get to see some of those as well.
My father-in-law and brother-in-law, during the whole Katrina fiasco, they actually, because their jobs went away, and they went to work. They're both building engineers and AC guys, and so they very familiar with campers and electricity and HVAC and everything else. They actually went to work for FEMA. And they were maintaining those and going on service runs with FEMA trailers all over South Mississippi. And one of the things to keep in mind is, don't forget that I took this tour only 5 months after the disaster happened, and some of it looks absolutely fresh, like it just happened. And some areas where they've cleaned out the debris and now you see the shell of the buildings, is kind of a different view. And so you have to think, okay, after all the media attention to that area went away, the disaster did not go away. No. And there were people on the main road there at Fort Myers Beach with signs up saying free food, stop here, because of all the people who were still coming down there and working on their houses or helping people out and cleaning things up.
That's
and it's
really
5
nice.
months later.
Wow.
God bless the community. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
Really. Well, Joe, thank you. And we can't wait for the next stuff that you bring to us.
Always got kits and fun.
But hey, we have another host that's been at Orlando Hamcation this last weekend. Josh, I didn't see the tan on you, so evidently you didn't get a lot of outdoor time.
I did, but I am of mainly Irish descent, so I wear UV shirts and hoods and stuff like that because I just get red and burn. I don't actually show any color other than this kind of white. That's all I got in me. That's all it's ever gonna be. So yeah,
white and red or white.
I was wearing UV shirts and stuff, and people were asking me like, "Aren't you hot in that thing?" And I'm like, "Nick, it's a really thin one, so no big deal." But
you had some fun, right?
Oh, we had an amazing
some
time.
Goodies.
We've been posting videos like crazy. All the YouTubers are out there. Mike KMRD posted a really fun vlog that kind of shows all the back of the back lot scenes and whatnot, and all the shenanigans we get into, which was a lot of fun. But yeah,
I gotta watch that. I love his channel. He's great.
You'll really like his vlog then. It's very funny. He bunked with me, so there's a lot of our shenanigans that we get into.
And I had to
he bumped
keep the
bunked.
Oh, bunked.
Yeah.
I had to keep the head
Not
covered, so I wore the cat in the hat there.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And everybody could find me.
That was its off-Dayton debut, wasn't it?
That's exactly right. And I've already had a request in the chat room to wear it in 2 weeks to Perry, Iowa, and I will do that.
There you go.
Josh,
and I will bring it to Houston, too.
Nice. Josh, did you find anything like out of this world awesome that we need to know about?
Well, surely I did. So let's take a look at some of that. Here is my overhead camera shot with all my gear that I collected. And let me just say right up front, there was a gentleman there in a large hat that gave me 2 custom 3D printed devices. One for my CW hotline, this purple lid, because I totally cracked my CW hotline lid that it came with. You can see I tried to glue it back together. So a great replacement, and a PCB straightener, a IC straightener for the pins, and it's dual-sided for the different size ICs you might use, which is really handy. And I got the probably the most coveted item at the event, the screwdriver, which I now have. So I am one of the few, the many maybe that have this, but I got it through TSA. They didn't even stop me, so I'm pretty happy about that.
I'm pretty sad that I don't have one.
Well,
Joe,
you gotta come out to a show.
Well,
Joe,
next time I see you, you'll get one.
Okay.
So LDG was there with Gigaparts, and they actually kind of embroidered a hat.
There you
for
go.
Me. And I wore that around on one of the days and kept my head out of the sun.
That's neat.
Now, some of the stuff I bought, and so a lot of this is all the stuff I kind of bought here. This is new. So Wolf River Coils, which they make a really nice vertical antenna for doing parks on the air, they came out with this thing called the Sporty 40. So if you're familiar with, and it's gonna be kind of hard for me to fit in the screen, but this is a collapsible 17-foot vertical whip, and this thing is pretty much resonant on 20 meters.
Is that aluminum?
Stainless steel, I believe. I could be wrong.
Wow,
maybe it is aluminum.
nice.
It might be aluminum. I don't remember. But you put some radials under this, and you just get it up in the air, and it's pretty close to 20 meters at full length, and you use an analyzer to just adjust it down to where you want it to be. But that's all it can do. That's as low as it'll go. Well, if you throw this little coil underneath it, that'll get it down to 40. So it's the Sporty 40 coil for all you folks that have the 17-foot MFJs or Chameleon or the Wolf River. They all have a similar 17-foot vertical. This also takes a pretty decent amount of power, more than the Take It Along 1000 will do. It also takes 75 watts at digital, so that was pretty good. I got a PAR NFED. That is the shortened 80 through 10, and I got it. This is the Vibroplex one. I got it because I don't really have an 80-meter antenna right now in the lot because I don't have enough space. So this is what I'm going to be running at my home. Hopefully this will be able to get me back on 80. I'm excited about that.
Set up as an Invis, or what are you doing with it?
Sloper. It'll be a sloper.
Sloper. Okay.
Yeah, it'll have to be. And I don't know why my audio's all dropped out.
You're fine.
Yeah, I'm quiet for some reason. Anyway, sorry guys. We have to keep going.
And that one has the loading coils.
Yes, it does. The big item though was I snagged the last of the, I guess they call this Cerritos burnt orange Bengali travelers. This
Nice.
was literally
Whoa.
the show model. So all the hams that touch this, I've got their ham prints. I'm gonna lift all those off later for whatever business I need to get to. But yeah,
And that folds up.
and yeah, it folds up so that you can
Look at that.
pack it up. And this color's not available on their website. You only could get that
That's a beauty.
from a custom job or at the show. And the Bengali prices is top quality prices for a key, that's for sure. But it's really quite nice.
And you got that through TSA?
Yeah, I did. I was more worried about the Joe screwdriver than the key, to be honest.
That would be too.
And then lastly, because I took this from the wife. Okay, this was when you go on travel, you got to make sure that you get your significant other something. And so let me get these out of here. Oh, I think it got
Of course.
stuck.
And not a radio, especially if she's not licensed.
Yeah.
Honey,
not
I brought
even
you
if
a
it's
handy-talkie.
not even if it's pink.
Right.
It's not
Hey,
gonna
Leah,
work.
I got
For when you get your license.
I
Don't
got your
worry.
radio. I programmed my call sign into it. I hope you
Yeah,
don't
it's
mind.
gonna be great. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So there was one of the volunteers, one of the ladies that was working in the kind of the cafeteria area for volunteers and media. She makes jewelry, and so check this one. Check these out, guys. Here's
Oh, there you go.
little
Oh, cute.
With electrolytics.
with
That's cute as
electrolytic
hell.
capacitors there.
Nice.
Now I'll figure out a time when we'll go somewhere fun and I'll have her wear it. I haven't really I haven't got her reaction fully to it yet because I forgot they were in my bag. So I'm going to give them to her after the show tonight. But
So it was not her Valentine's Day gift, evidently.
no, no. But I'll make up for it. I'll tell her. Oh,
Has she worn those yet?
No, she doesn't even know yet. So
All
hopefully
right,
she's
well,
not watching.
Don't. Here, you want to have a little fun? Charge them up first. We used to.
Don.
We had wooden stools in the electronics lab in high school when I was going to the Votech, and we used to go get those great big honking electrolytics, and we'd charge them up and we'd thumbtack them to the wooden
Oh my
to the wooden
goodness.
stool, and somebody come along and sit down on them, and pow!
I can't believe I'm listening to this right now.
That
Josh.
is funny.
Amanda.
Well, I hope that you had a fantastic time. It sounds like you had a fantastic time, you and the YouTubers.
I got.
I always say that every one of the ham fests has their own unique spirit.
Really, Don?
And Hamcation is the kind of chill backyard party hamvention. Like that's what it is. Like you got that back end area where everybody's hanging out. They're basically tailgating for most of the day.
Beer
it's
trucks,
a great
right?
time.
Okay.
Right.
Florida
yeah.
vibe. It's
Very
Florida
much the
vibe.
Florida vibe. Yeah, very
you're
much
on
so.
island time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful time though. So yes, thanks everybody who came up and said hi.
Very cool.
What do you think the turnout was? Like, was it quite a few?
It
bigger
was
than last year?
It was bigger than last year. Michael said that numbers were close to pre-COVID levels.
Wow.
Saturday was very busy. I noticed though that Sunday started closing up pretty fast. People started rolling out of there, and it was a little bit quieter. And people were big out there even when it started raining. Like it rained, and everybody just kind of hung out because it's Florida rain. Nobody cares. It was good. It was a lot of fun.
Sometimes they do. As Joe
Friday
can
was
attest.
busier than in the past, and Saturday was great.
Yes.
Yeah, and Joe got the pre-show on Thursday on teaching everyone. So
It's actually on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
I did the group kit build.
Yeah,
Cool.
that was, and you had an amazing turnout for that as well. So great job. Looks like
Lots of
it's a fun time. Yeah, definitely. Okay, you were talking, Josh. So, and I was
do that.
looking at the screen because I was looking at your stuff, and
I
I
do
didn't see
that.
anything. But shocking gift. Okay.
Shocking gift. Yes.
Sorry. Let's move on. We're going to talk about things that are coming up. So we've got, currently this week we have the school roundup going on, the school club roundup going on. And this is important. Please look for these spots. And they're mostly going to be on during the day, but it's very important to keep our youth active in amateur radio. So I encourage everyone, they do this like once or twice a year.
Mhm.
And I know even Rhea is going to school with her kids to get her kids on the air tomorrow, I believe.
Good.
And yes, and it's just a fun time. So look for the spots.
Yeah. Audrey McElroy, our current Young Ham of the Year, is quite active on that. Oh, and since we're talking about Young Ham of the Year, in 2 weeks, nominations open for the 2024.
Already?
Yeah,
oh
March.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
March, April, and May is the 90-day nomination period. It starts March 1, so that's 2 weeks away.
Oh my gosh. So look for those spots, everybody. They're usually going to only be on during the day, during their school hours. Maybe the colleges will be on later, and you'll see both. But it's a fun time, and just to get those kids involved. Speaking of spots, I'm going to bring up Bouvet. What a crazy activation that was. Josh has this awesome video that I hope that everyone checks out on his YouTube video channel. Right, Josh? It's on your channel.
Thank you. This channel. Yeah, that you're all watching me on. Yes.
First of all, Josh puts it out there just exactly how it is. Depending on your opinion. So
right.
My opinion falls right in line with his, and even at the end. So
yes, that was a little Easter egg for the folks that stuck around.
And I died crying at it. But seriously, these folks worked really, really hard to do what they did. And the last Bouvet trip was even worse, where they didn't get to make.
Didn't even
I
happen.
don't think
they made it all the way to the island, and they couldn't even make landfall. That's right.
That's right. So, 20,000 QSOs. God bless all of you that were lucky enough to make those QSOs. It definitely wasn't me, because I sure as hell don't have a 17-meter beam. Well, I do. It's just not set up yet. I have a 12-17, and we're going to put it up, but it's not there yet. So.
And I was hoping to work them when I got home, and then I saw on Monday that they were going off, and I knew I wouldn't be home in time.
Yeah, when they went QRT, it's just like, oh, my heart just broke. But they, you know what, everyone, they're eating, like, I know I saw one person drinking a beer on the boat, but they're really seriously eating.
It's rough.
Beans and toast.
Rough.
Beans and toast.
That is not a Caribbean cruise.
No,
to go down there.
Pulley system to get the equipment on. One person on one end, and they're floating equipment. How many feet was it, Josh? It's like
15
meters.
And they were wearing survival suits to go from a dinghy that was, right offshore and floating themselves in. Then they started doing the pulley. I would remind everybody, and I will post the link in the description, or you can go watch my video. There's a link in the description to the Facebook group. Go join the Facebook group, because what happened was they didn't get everything they wanted on shore, including the Starlink internet setup.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the media and content they took when they were out there is just now getting updated. And if you listen to the videos, the news drops that they did when they were getting ready for the activation, they talked about their operating position and where they were staying. They were all living in one tent that they used for cooking, operating, sleeping. There were no tables. There were no chairs. The radios, the K3 radios, that was my mistake. I said K4s. The K3 radios were sitting on top of flipped over buckets. So sitting on the floor, operating all day, trying to make as many contacts as they could with people. I want everybody who complains about that to go sit on the floor, wherever you're go do a POTA. Flip a bucket over and put all your junk on it and operate for as long as you can, and tell me how you do.
At 20 degrees.
And
that's exactly.
Poop in a trash bag. You didn't even get a bucket for the poop bag.
Yep.
Visualize that famous picture of the guy sitting on the rock out in the middle of the ocean, operating the one radio with the antenna behind him, and then put that in the middle of a 20-degree or colder blizzard.
Right.
Yep. Horrible conditions.
That's what they were doing.
And again, as I said in the video, it's all right to be frustrated. It's okay, right? I get it. Everybody gets frustrated. But unless you're willing to go do the thing, you can't complain. The complaints are what killed me. And so I hope, although I don't know how it's possible, that maybe one day the cluster will change. But by its very nature, being a distributed thing, I don't know that it's possible.
No. I just want to say one thing is that I don't want this to change the way we do de-expeditions, because we need de-expeditions to keep going on, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
And once again, watch Josh's video because he says it right at the end. We're not going to let this end.
No.
We're going to keep working the de-expeditions. We're going to fight through it, and we're going to make the contacts, and we're going to encourage them, and we're going to keep them on the air because that's what we do.
Right.
And someday somebody may come up with a better way to do this one.
Maybe.
Yeah. There really is no calm season down there, though. That's the thing.
Right. There's no good
it's
time.
Like that. It's like that 24/7, 365.
Yeah. I mean, this is their summer, right?
And you're 1,000 miles from what? The nearest land or something like that? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Falkland Islands is the closest thing.
Yeah.
And then South Africa from there.
And then Antarctica. Yeah, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
So thank you, Bouvet Island de-expeditioners.
Yeah, absolutely.
3Y0J. We appreciate your efforts, and I hope you have a safe trip home.
Yeah, and thank you also to all of the people who donated money and equipment, corporate and individual and club, to make that happen.
I can't remember all of the
ain't cheap.
No, I can't remember all the sponsors, but I will throw out KX obviously and DX Engineering because I know that they did a lot of donations there. So, all right, let's wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
I didn't think we were going to go over an hour. I swear to God, I didn't think we were going to go over an hour.
We always do. That's the thing. It's even when we think we're light, we're going to right over the top of the hour.
Because I talk too much.
Thanks.
I always talk too much. Okay, Nets. I haven't. Kev, I'm sure, is on 7192, and we got Steve on 80 meters somewhere, and we have D-Star not going on 14 Charlie. So be sure to join in on those. And thank you to our net controls. You guys rock it, and thanks for being here weekly and doing this for us every after show net. With that, stay tuned. We're going to have, hopefully I'm going to have a special event on next month, March 1st, and it's for a great cause. It's about pancreatic cancer. So it's a one-day event, and they're looking for rock star operators. So looking forward to that. Other than that, that's all I got. See you 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I wanted to.
Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, no, go.
Before we get out of here, I wanted to give a quick, I mentioned 2 weeks ago, Newsline staffer Mike Askins, KE5CXP. I wanted to give a quick update because it's pretty cool. The last time that we spoke, I think Mike was probably still sedated. He's been in the ICU for 39 days now, and let me just go through this. He was gooned out on propofol for 3 weeks. He was on a respirator. He has since had a trach in. The trach, they put a they got him out of sedation. They put a speaking valve in, and now the trach is gone, and he's doing physical therapy. So yeah, Mike Askins, KE5CXP, is alert and awake. In fact, he's been clicking the like button on some of my Facebook posts, which just makes me smile to no end. So if you can think about it, and you would like to send him a get well card, I would love to see get well cards from every Newsline listener and Ham Nation viewer going to Mike. Send him a QSL card, a get well QSL cute. Card. Yeah, Kilo Echo 5 Charlie X-Ray Papa, KE5CXP. He's good on QRZ, and he will enjoy it. I'm going to try to FaceTime him tomorrow, I think, for the first time. So. He and I, we've known each other since first grade. He's my second oldest friend. I've known one other person longer than him. So, and we're the three of us are all really good friends. We've known each other since then. So, yeah, KE5CXP, Mike Askins, doing much, much better. Not out of the woods yet. He's not home, and he's not able to get out of bed yet. But he's come leaps and bounds.
Yay!
So, God bless you, Mike. We love you.
This Saturday, I will be having Thomas Witherspoon on my channel, K4SWL, who has like fantastic long-form videos where he just walks through walking out to a table and setting everything up with no cuts and doing radio. And we're going to be talking. Neat. Yeah, he has a cool channel and he's got a good voice for it. But we're going to be talking about ham radio bags. He and I are just both backpacks, satchels, fanny pack nerds, so we're just going to geek out on all of our favorite bags.
I'm going to have to check that out.
And how we have them loaded out and everything. So if you like bags and like geeking out on that kind of stuff, that's this
I'm
Saturday.
A bag freak. Yeah, I'm a bag nerd.
I've got a few of them.
Yep, I think we all subtly are. I think I found that I double the amount of bags, including my wife's handbags, to her.
I'm not.
Easily double.
I've had the for like 5 years, so no.
I'm a big fan of the 511 tactical messenger bags. I've got a big one over
here. Oh gosh, yeah, those are pricey.
Got the Velcro and the Molly's. I love all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that too. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. 73. See ya.
73.
Good night, everybody. I got a screwdriver and Amanda don't.
No.
Well, Amanda, next time I see you, you'll get one.
You better have one for me.